Now listen, there's something deeply paradoxical about human relationships, and it's particularly evident in how we fail to interpret signals, especially emotional signals, from the people closest to us. When someone, perhaps a woman, someone you're deeply connected to, ignores you, your immediate response might be to feel hurt, rejected, maybe even angry. And those feelings are valid. But here's the thing. You're not just dealing with behavior, you're dealing with a symbol, an unconscious expression of something far more profound. Love is not safety, it's exposure. The moment you love someone, you hand them a sword and trust they won't cut you open. Ignoring someone isn't always neglect. It can be the fear of doing damage with feelings too sharp to control. Vulnerability is the price of connection, and for some, that price is too steep to pay in full. People hide because they care. Indifference doesn't bother with silence, but fear of love's weight does. When she ignores you, she might be standing at the edge of her own emotional cliff, terrified of falling into what you represent. Attachment isn't gentle, it binds. The more someone matters, the more dangerous they become to your inner world. And so the instinct, often unconscious, is to back away, not because the feeling is absent, but because it is too much. When your presence awakens her past wounds, her silence is not emptiness, it is defense. It is armor forged in childhood, hardened by experience, and triggered by love. We learn how to love from those who loved us first, and sometimes those lessons were wrapped in pain. If love once meant instability, unpredictability, or betrayal, then closeness now triggers every warning signal in the nervous system. The nervous system does not lie. It does not care about romance, poetry, or flowers. It remembers. It remembers every moment closeness led to collapse. It remembers when affection turned cold. It remembers when vulnerability was punished instead of protected. So even when the conscious mind wants to love, the body says, run. She might not even understand why she's pulling away. It's reflex, not reason. To be attached is to risk grief. And if she's lost before, she's already bleeding underneath her silence. Attachment is not symmetrical. One person reaches, the other retreats. That retreat is not rejection, it is fear dressed in distance. It's an act of emotional self-preservation disguised as apathy. She might love you so deeply that it petrifies her because losing you would undo her entirely. So instead, she starves the connection in advance to prevent a deeper wound later. You think she doesn't care, but the truth is she cares too much to be careless and too little of herself to believe she's safe to love you right. To open up is to become unarmored. Not everyone is ready for that exposure. When you love someone, you become visible in ways that feel unbearable. Ignoring you might be her way of staying clothed when emotional nakedness feels like death. You must understand, some people didn't grow up with a safe place for their feelings. Some people were taught to be silent before they were taught to speak. If her silence is cold, it might be the only language she was ever taught when love came too close. Some silence is not absence. It is protection. It is memory. It is the echo of too many moments where openness led to destruction. Love becomes dangerous when it threatens the fragile structure holding someone's identity together. If she built her life around being independent, strong, untouchable, then you showing up, offering warmth, presence, real connection, it shakes the foundation. She ignores not because she doesn't want the connection, but because it challenges everything she built to protect herself. Her silence is the sound of her system recalibrating, of her trying to remain intact in the face of your presence. You see absence, but inside her, it's a war zone. People ignore when they don't know how to stay without losing themselves. If someone has lived their life managing chaos, they will associate closeness with collapse. You represent safety, but that safety is unfamiliar, and unfamiliarity is threatening. Trauma doesn't just teach people what pain feels like, it teaches them that peace is a setup. So when things feel too calm, too good, too open, they flinch. She flinches, she ghosts, she withdraws. Not to hurt you, but to protect herself from the fear that the good will turn bad, just like it always did. The tragedy is that silence is often misread as a lack of love, when in reality it is the presence of too much unspoken love, love that has no safe outlet. Love that feels too explosive to be released without ruining something. She might be sitting alone, trembling with what she cannot express. You hear nothing, but inside her is a scream. And she doesn't want you to hear it, not because she wants to hide, but because she thinks if you saw that part of her, you'd leave. And so she leaves first. Or she disappears emotionally. Or she texts less, not because the love is gone, but because the risk is present. She loves, but she does not trust that love won't break her. She ignores, not to hurt you, but because acknowledging how much you mean would undo her. And sometimes people would rather lose you than lose the version of themselves that survived before you came along. You cannot take it personally. This is not about you. It is about the ghosts you awakened, the fears you didn't cause, but you now represent. The ache she buried so deeply that when you triggered it with your presence, she had no map to navigate it. She didn't ignore you because you failed. She ignored you because you touched something that had never healed, something sacred, something secret. And rather than let you in, she ran. Her silence is not emptiness. It is intensity. It is the storm behind the stillness. It is the scream that was never allowed to be voiced. And your pain in response to her silence is not weakness. It's your attachment, screaming to be recognized, to be loved back, to be seen. And isn't that what we all want? To be seen without being destroyed? The ones who love deeply often love silently, especially when life has taught them that loud love comes with consequences. Sometimes ignoring you is not dismissiveness. It is reverence for how much power you hold in her world. And sometimes silence is the only way she knows how to say, I love you, but I'm still learning how to feel safe inside that love. Communication is not just what is said, it is what is meant beneath what is said. Female communication often operates beneath the surface, encoded in tone, gesture, silence, and expression. It's not indirect because it is manipulative. It is indirect because it is deeply layered, shaped by thousands of years of survival, intuition, and relational sensitivity. In women, speech is rarely just language. It is strategy, it is defense, it is art. You will miss her meaning entirely if you only listen to her words and not her essence. To understand her, you must listen to her pauses, her hesitations, the shift in her breathing. When she says nothing, she may mean everything, because sometimes voicing the truth feels more dangerous than swallowing it. The complexity of her communication is not an accident, it is evolution. In a world where she was often not allowed to speak directly, she learned how to encode truth in metaphor. And if you are not listening with your whole being, you will not hear her at all. Women were not always permitted to be loud, but they were always required to be aware. Hyper-awareness became survival. They learned to detect changes in tone, micro-expressions, subtle energy shifts, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. And in this crucible, they developed an intelligence that is emotional before it is verbal, intuitive before it is literal. She speaks with feeling first and fact second. If you listen only for facts, you will miss her completely. Every woman carries within her the blueprint of centuries of silenced truth. She speaks in what feels safe. When she's unsure, you will understand her honesty. She tests you with subtlety, not to manipulate you, but to see if you are worthy of the full truth. She will not give you her deepest thoughts in the beginning because those thoughts are precious, sacred, and easily dismissed. She will give you layers, and how you handle those layers determines whether you ever reach the core. Men are often trained to hear what is explicit, while women often communicate what is implied. That divide creates conflict, not because either is wrong, but because they operate on different bandwidths of perception. When she says, I'm fine, and you believe it, you may be missing the opportunity to show her that you can see what she's not ready to admit. She may not need you to solve anything, but she may desperately need you to notice. Notice the drop in her energy when she's near you. Notice when her replies turn short and shallow. Notice when her silence isn't peaceful but protective. She might be saying, I'm afraid, in a dozen different ways before she ever utters those words. And if you wait for her to say it plainly, you will have already missed the point. Her complexity is not a game. It is a defense mechanism developed over generations of being misunderstood and unheard. Female communication, at its core, is not built for speed. It is built for safety. She must feel safe before she reveals her truth. If she does not trust you, she will never give you the depth of her feeling. And trust isn't earned by charm or dominance. It is earned by consistency, by presence, by your willingness to understand her when she's not making it easy for you. The feminine is not meant to be conquered. It is meant to be understood. To understand a woman, you must be fluent in paradox. She may want closeness but ask for space. She may crave reassurance but seem distant. She may love you deeply but appear cold. These contradictions are not deception, they are protection. Her emotional complexity is not a flaw, it is a function of the depth with which she feels. To feel deeply is to carry contradictions within you, and the feminine psyche is a labyrinth of emotions that often conflict, collide, and coexist. And if you dismiss her as too emotional, you disqualify yourself from her emotional world entirely. Her depth is not a burden, it is a gift if you are capable of holding it. But it takes strength to hold what you cannot control. It takes wisdom to sit in silence and let her speak with her eyes instead of her mouth. It takes courage to accept that her love might not sound like yours, or look like yours, or move like yours, and yet be no less real. She was not raised in a world that encouraged emotional transparency. She was taught to manage perception, to preserve harmony, to suppress rage, to cry in private, to smile when hurting. These teachings are embedded in her nervous system. Her communication is laced with centuries of inherited silence. So when she does speak, truly speak, it is an act of rebellion. And when she doesn't, it is an act of preservation. Both are born from history, not just personality. You cannot demand clarity from someone still learning to speak their truth safely. You cannot rush emotional honesty when honesty once led to punishment. She will test you, not to play with you, but to see if her truth can breathe around you. Every word she gives you is measured against the risk of being misunderstood. Her caution is not coldness, it is wisdom. If you mistake her subtlety for disinterest, you are listening through your own impatience instead of her fear. True listening requires humility. To listen to a woman means putting down your sword and opening your heart. It means realizing that her silence is not always passive. It is often active, deliberate, protective. It means knowing that what she doesn't say may carry more weight than what she does. The unsaid things in her chest are often louder than anything she speaks. Her restraint is sometimes louder than shouting. You want her to be direct, but she wants you to be perceptive. You want her to say it plainly, but she wants you to feel it fully. The masculine often seeks structure. The feminine thrives in nuance. If you want to love a woman, you must learn to navigate emotional terrain that does not move in straight lines. You must learn to trust what you feel as much as what you hear. Her love may not always be articulate, but it is honest. And if you are patient enough, you will hear it in the space between words. She doesn't want you to fix her. She wants you to see her. See the truth behind the smile. See the exhaustion behind her strength. See the ache behind her distance. Her communication will not always come when it is convenient for you. It will come in fragments, in storms, in moments of fragile bravery. And if you are not present for those moments, you will never see who she truly is. She does not owe you clarity when she is still fighting for coherence within herself. She is translating feelings into language, emotions into logic, vulnerability into expression, and that is not an easy task. Respect the effort. Honor the courage it takes to speak a single true sentence when your history has taught you that truth can shatter everything. And if you want to truly love her, listen when she's silent. Feel when she's distant. Protect what she's afraid to show. Because the woman who seems the hardest to understand is often the one who's trying the hardest to be understood without falling apart. And so you must ask yourself, what if love was never supposed to look the way you expected it to? What if the silence you fear is actually the cry for safety you've never learned to hear? What if the distance you resent is the defense of someone who loves you so deeply, she's terrified of what that love might cost her? You see, we romanticize connection, but we underestimate the violence required for two separate psyches to collide and survive it. Love is not sweet surrender, it is brutal recognition. It forces you to witness the other not as you wish them to be, but as they truly are, afraid, flawed, fractured, and full of unspoken stories. She might ignore you, not because she doesn't love you, but because she loves you in a way she doesn't yet know how to survive. Her silence might be a scream she learned to swallow. Her withdrawal might be the only way she knows how to stay. And if your masculinity is so fragile that it interprets feminine retreat as disrespect, then you were never prepared to hold real love in the first place. Because real love does not exist without risk, without pain, without the willingness to be undone in the presence of another. So you must decide, do you want her heart or just her obedience? Do you want a partner or do you want a puppet who never challenges your comfort? Because if you truly want her love, then you must learn to hold it when it's quiet, when it's distant, when it comes wrapped in shadows and silence. You must learn to read between the words, to see the tremble behind the stillness, to understand that sometimes loving you hurts her too, and she is trying, in the only way she knows, to still choose you anyway. Do not mistake her silence for indifference. Do not confuse her retreat for rejection. The truth is, ignoring you might be her way of saying, I love you, when love feels more like a battlefield than a home. And if you can't hear that, you were never really listening.